There was a version of you that was easy to control, not because you were weak, but because you cared. You cared about keeping the peace. You cared about not losing people. You cared about being understood. And people learned that. They learned your soft spots. They learned that if they pulled away, you would chase. If they went silent, you would overthink. If they acted cold, you would try harder. And slowly, you became predictable. Manipulation doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks like inconsistency, hot and cold behavior, mixed signals, affection when convenient, distance when accountability shows up. And because you believed in potential, you tolerated patterns you should have walked away from. You told yourself, they're just stressed. They didn't mean it. I'm probably overreacting. You minimized your own intuition to protect someone else's comfort. And the more you explained yourself, the more they realized they didn't have to change.
Because you would adapt. But something shifted. Not overnight, not dramatically, quietly. You got tired. Tired of guessing, tired of decoding, tired of feeling anxious in situations that were supposed to feel safe. And instead of reacting louder, you reacted differently. You started observing. You stopped chasing clarity. You stopped asking for reassurance from the same person who created the confusion. You stopped responding instantly. You stopped explaining your boundaries twice. And that's when it happened. You became hard to manipulate. Because manipulation needs access. It needs emotional reaction. It needs urgency. It needs you to panic when something feels off. But when you slowed down, when you stopped reacting impulsively, when you started responding instead of chasing, their control weakened. The power dynamic shifted. They noticed you weren't anxious anymore. You weren't trying to fix everything. You weren't double texting. You weren't over-apologizing. You weren't explaining your emotions in paragraphs. You were calm. And calm is unpredictable to someone who relied on your chaos. You started trusting patterns over promises. You listened to actions more than words. You paid attention to consistency. And when something didn't align, you didn't argue. You adjusted access. That's what makes someone hard to manipulate. Not aggression, not revenge, not proving a point. It's emotional regulation. It's silence. It's detachment without announcement. You realize something powerful. Anyone can say the right thing, but not everyone can maintain it. And when someone's behavior shifted, instead of confronting immediately, you observed. You watched what they did next. You let them reveal themselves without interference. And people reveal a lot when you stop interrupting their patterns. Manipulators rely on confusion. They rely on emotional intensity. They rely on your fear of losing them. But when you stopped fearing loss, you stopped being controllable. Because now, you're okay walking away. You're okay not knowing. You're okay not chasing closure. That's terrifying to someone who once had emotional access. Because they can't predict you anymore. They don't know if silence will trigger you. They don't know if distance will scare you. They don't know if cold behavior will make you try harder. Because now, you match energy. You mirror effort. You move in silence. And here's the quiet truth. When you become hard to manipulate, some people lose interest. Not because you changed negatively, but because you stopped being easy to control. You stopped tolerating inconsistency. You stopped explaining basic respect. You stopped begging for clarity. And that requires effort from them. Effort they never planned to give. So they call you distant. They call you cold. They say you've changed. But you didn't become cold. You became aware. You became regulated. You became aligned.
You still care. You still feel deeply. You still love intensely. But now, you give that depth to people who reciprocate, not to people who test boundaries to see how far they can go. Being hard to manipulate isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming stable. You don't explode anymore. You don't over-explain anymore. You don't chase inconsistent energy anymore. You assess. You decide. You act calmly. And that calm, that's your power. Because once someone realizes they can't control your reactions, they either rise to your level or they leave. Either way, you win. The version of you that overreacted, over-explained, and overgave, that version was surviving. The version of you now is choosing, and choosing is powerful. You became hard to manipulate the moment you stopped betraying your intuition, the moment you stopped ignoring red flags, the moment you accepted, if someone wants to lose me, I won't fight to stay. And that shift, that's growth.